The Vikings released Adam Thielen today. I get it, 100%, I understand. But that's a shot, man. That's a shot right to the gut. Minnesota's baby boy is Joe Mauer to the Vikings. Could he reunite with Diggs again on the Bills? Possibly, but it ain't gonna be the same. Thank you for everything, Adam. I love you so much. Anyway, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video and happy Friday. Today's video is going to be very similar to Tuesday's video where I talked about the biggest NFL draft steals. Well, now we're going to talk about some of the biggest NFL draft busts. The definition of a bust, by the way, to those who are wondering, is you're drafted very high. You're supposed to be very good and you just end up doing absolutely nothing. Couple quick plugs before we start the video. One, head over to gfuel.com, use code WyattzWorld, save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products. Second, if you're 18 years or older, head over to PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app, or code WyattzWorld will match up to $100 of your first deposit. Hey, they got golf and NASCAR on PrizePicks. I tried them. Kinda makes it more entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, always play responsibly and let's get into the video. Alright, so once again, I got 14 players here, and I think every one of them are new from the list I did 2 years ago, except for one. And I'm going to talk about him right away because we kind of need to, and it's JaMarcus Russell. Everybody's heard the JaMarcus Russell story. It's like the Tom Brady story. That's why I didn't talk about it on Tuesday's video. You know, it's not news. However, JaMarcus Russell has a story within his that I don't think everybody's heard, and I find it so funny. Basically, JaMarcus was this huge prospect out of LSU. He was a quarterback who got drafted #1 overall to the Oakland Raiders. At that time, Doug Peterson, who's now coach of the Jags, was working over there. And on the first day of camp, he gave JaMarcus Russell a CD and said, "Take this home tonight and watch it. Tell me anything that you have concerns about." The next day, JaMarcus Russell came back. Doug asked him about the tape, and JaMarcus said everything looked great. Doug Peterson then said the tape was blank, and he knew that there was going to be a huge problem ever since then, and there was. JaMarcus was lazy, he didn't care, and he just wanted money. He wanted a huge contract before he even played a game of his rookie season. This #1 pick was out of the league in 3 years, having a career completion percentage of 52%, throwing 18 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. He also carried a QB record of 7-18. One of, if not the biggest draft busts of all time. Alright, next up, we've got Tavon Austin. Oh, man. Been a while since he was in college. I wasn't even watching at the time, but trust me, I've seen the highlight tapes thousands of times. Him and Geno Smith, they were the most electric combination in college football. Anyway, fast forward to the 2013 draft. He was one of the top prospects for receiver out of the entire class, and he was selected 8th overall by the St. Louis Rams at the time. Unfortunately, he only started 3 games his rookie year, 8 games his second year. And then in 2015 and 16, he was able to play 15 games out of each season. However, he just didn't do much. After that, he battled injuries and he just kind of became an afterthought, was eventually cut, went to Dallas, was cut, went to Green Bay, was cut, went to Jacksonville, was cut, was on the Bills for a little bit, but I don't think he ever played a regular season game, and I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. I know the rocky start didn't help his opportunities when he was healthy, but Tavon Austin, you were a bust. Up next, we've got Solomon Thomas. The 49ers drafted this guy 3rd overall in 2017, and I'm pretty sure they traded up to get him. He was supposed to be a fierce defensive end, and I mean, I don't think he ever fulfilled the words fierce. However, I think his rookie year, he might have been fine. And then right away in his 2nd or 3rd year, he got hurt, and then he missed like 2 years in a row. 49ers cut him in 2020, then he went to the Raiders and he went to the Jets. However, he hasn't started a single game in the last 2 years. Like, I'm not even sure what's going on with the guy, but if you're not going to call that a bust, I don't know what is. Solomon Thomas, sorry, but you made the list. Alright, up next, we've got Hayden Hurst. Yeah, he was a 1st-round pick. Honestly, I didn't even know that until like 6 hours ago. I knew he was drafted by Baltimore, I just didn't know how high they picked him. So let me start off by saying this about Hayden. I think he is a damn fine tight end, but has he served as a 1st-round pick? Absolutely not. Nobody can deny that one. He only played in Baltimore for 2 years, and then I think they cut him. Also, in those 2 years, he had like a whopping 500 yards and 3 touchdowns combined. I know he broke his foot right when he got drafted, and that caused him to miss a couple games, but not all that much. And I think, honestly, what killed him was just the fact that Mark Andrews was there the same year, and when he got hurt, Mark got more opportunities, and Hayden just kind of faded out. Pretty sure he's still a member of the Bengals, but he's never going to serve the purpose that he was drafted to serve, and that's unfortunate, but Hayden, you were a bust. Alright, up next, we've got Hingle McCringleberry. Guy was a tight end out of Penn State, and he also won a Heisman Trophy, arguably the greatest college tight end of all time. Anyway, in 2016, the Buccaneers drafted him at #8 overall, and Hingle McCringleberry never actually played a regular season NFL game. Reason being, they could not stop his taunting. Every time he caught the ball, he would just go to the middle of the field and start air thrusting, to the point where he got a flag for excessive celebration after every single reception. He also had attitude problems. The Buccaneers knew it was going to be an issue, and they just bit the bullet before the season even started, and they cut him, and nobody ever gave him a chance. All right, up next, we've got Johnny Manziel, a guy who literally had it all and just pissed it away. Johnny Manziel was an elite quarterback that went to Texas A&M. He was the first freshman to ever win the Heisman Trophy back in 2012. But he had a big problem, and that problem was he liked to party, he liked to get into trouble. It was to the point where any team who was drafting him knew that that was going to be a potential risk, and unfortunately, the Cleveland Browns decided to make the leap, and it didn't pay off. Johnny was out of the league in 2 years. I think he only played a total of about 8 games. Wasn't good at all. He got into trouble right away for flicking off an opposing bench, then sneaking off to Las Vegas in a disguise so he wouldn't get caught partying even though he got caught partying. And he was dropped out of the league and never picked up again. And I'm pretty sure as of this very moment, he plays in fan-controlled football with Twitch. The guy was essentially JaMarcus Russell, except less of a bum, but still a really big bum. All right, moving on, we got Mike Hughes, a cornerback who was drafted late in the 2018 first round by the Minnesota Vikings. Mike Hughes, I really didn't like the pick to begin with because the guy's 5'10". Now, that doesn't mean everything. Tyrann Mathieu's like 5'9". Chris Harris is like 5'10", but I mean, you're already at a disadvantage. And then he ended up tearing his ACL in the second or third game of his rookie year, and he missed the entire season. I will say he had a red-hot start, though. He had an interception in his first game. It might have even been a pick 6. Anyway, he just was never able to really come back at full steam, or if he was at full steam, he wasn't that good. He barely ever started for the Vikings. He was eventually traded to the Chiefs for like a 6th round pick, and then they either cut him or traded him to the Lions. Corners do tend to be very hit or miss, but like I kind of mentioned in the start of this, in the first round, I'm not going to draft one who's 5'10". That's just me personally. Mike Hughes, you were a bust. All right, up next, we've got Isaiah Wilson. He was an offensive tackle drafted 29th overall by the Tennessee Titans in 2020. The guy played 1 game, and he hasn't played since. That's it. Does that speak for itself? Because I think it should. I know he did miss time with COVID, but then I think he just wasn't good when he came back, like at all. Just did not transition. And clearly they were able to tell that just from practices and scrimmaging because, like I said, he has not played another game. Sorry, buddy, but I mean, you might actually be a bigger bust than JaMarcus Russell. All right, up next, we've got Mitch Trubisky, and he is a bust, but he really isn't at the same time, and let me explain this one. He's a bust because the Bears traded up to draft him number 2 overall over guys like Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. That's embarrassing. And he's a bust because he's been on 3 different teams now, and on one of them he miserably failed, one of them he rode the bench, and one of them was the team he was drafted by, but he wasn't extended. He really is made out to be a lot worse than he was in Chicago. Guy actually had a really good season there. He made some really nice plays every year, but he wasn't the best quarterback, and he just wasn't ever going to fulfill that number 2 overall role. I somehow, some way, still do have faith in Mitchell Trubisky, but your career as of now, it's never ever going to be what it was supposed to be. All right, next up, we got Peyton Manning. This guy was a quarterback selected by the Colts first overall in the 1998 draft, and he was dreadful. He's only been selected for the Pro Bowl 14 times. He's only been a 7-time All-Pro. He's only won 2 Super Bowl rings. He's got a whole whopping 5 MVPs, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Like, big fucking whoop. Career record of 186 wins, 79 losses. That's trash. He's also thrown 539 touchdowns and 251 picks throughout his career. Can you imagine turning the ball over 251 times? Absolute joke. All right, up next, we got Trent Richardson. Back to the Cleveland Browns. He was drafted 3rd overall in 2012. Now, Trent does have a sad story. This guy was electric in college. I didn't watch back then, but I've read about it. And then he got a really bad injury. I think it was his Achilles he tore in like an SEC championship game. And he was drafted the following year, still as a very high prospect, clearly, but he wasn't ever able to bounce back from it. And the Browns knew it, which is why they traded him, I think, in his 2nd year, and he was out of the league within 4 years. You can look at Trent's stats, man. I mean, you can tell clearly what's wrong there. The guy is averaging 3 yards a carry. That's absolutely horrible. You can tell he's struggling to get upfield. He was not at full steam. But it's the reality of the situation. That 3rd overall pick, like that was a huge mistake, and it made him a huge bust. After Trent, we've got Josh Dobson. This guy was drafted by the Commanders, 22nd overall in the 2016 draft. Now, the thing about Josh Dobson is he's a pretty easy tale to tell. His rookie year, he just got hurt a ton, and then he never really was that good of a receiver anyway. Maybe in college he was. I ain't talking then. I'm just talking his time in the NFL. Like, he just was never that good. 1,100 yards on the dot and 8 touchdowns for 3 seasons. That is what he brought to the table. What's kind of funny, he tried to follow Kirk Cousins from Washington over over to Minnesota, but the Vikings wouldn't have it and they released him before the season even started. I don't think he's been on a roster since, and he probably doesn't have a right to be because, like I've said, he just really wasn't that good. Josh Dobson, you were a bust. After Dobson, we got Kevin White. Sorry, Chicago fans, I gotta get you again. He was drafted in 2015, 7th overall by, of course, Chicago. I actually think this guy still is in the league somewhere. I have heard his name, but for the Bears, he was absolutely worthless. He just got hurt, and hurt. Here's his injury history. Leg tibia fracture in 2015, missed the whole season. Leg fibula fracture in 2016, missed basically the whole season. 2017, shoulder scapula fracture, if I'm reading that right. Don't know what that is, but he missed a lot of time. He has started 8 games since he was drafted in 2015. And finally, ending the list, we'll go back to Minnesota and get him again. We got Christian Ponder. First round, 12th overall, 2011 draft, quarterback out of Florida State. He was ass. Nothing good about the guy. He wasn't accurate. He wasn't smart. The only time he was able to win games is when he had an MVP, Adrian Peterson. Like, he was just a heinous quarterback. He was a bum. He was a bust, and I don't ever want to talk about Christian Ponder again. You brought us a lot of pain in Minnesota. Anyway, guys, that is all I got for NFL Draft Busts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you already know what to do to show support. Comment, like, subscribe, turn that bell on. I do my best to post on this channel every single day. With everything I just said, I'm going to edit this so you guys can get a start to your weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and as always, I will see you in the next video.